Hey, my name is Andrew, and today we're talking about this lens, the Sigma 18-35 f1.8. Now, this lens isn't a new lens by any means. It actually came out in 2013, making it 10 years old. So in this review, we're going to talk about whether this 10-year-old lens is still worth your money. As I said, this lens was released in 2013, and when it was released, it was about $800. But today you can pick one up brand new for about $650. And if you do any shopping around, you can definitely tell for that price, that's a pretty good bargain for what you're getting. This lens is designed for APS-C cameras. So if you have a camera that has an APS-C sensor, this lens is designed for that. Now, this comes in a couple different mounts. You can get it for Nikon, for Sony, Pentax, and the Canon EF mount, which is a big plus actually, because I use Canon M mount cameras. So with an adapter, I can use this lens. And down the road, if I ever want to upgrade to a R10 or R7, I can still use this lens with an adapter on those cameras as well. Now, the materials that this is made out of, Sigma does a really good job with the build quality, and this is no compromise. It's made out of metal and rubber. Everything just feels really premium. The grip for the focus ring feels solid and smooth. Same with the zoom dial. And also on the side of it, you have a switch for auto and manual focus. This is their art lens, and it has a minimum aperture of f1.8, which is really good in low light. And it also is a fixed aperture, which means if you zoom in and out, you won't get any difference in the aperture on some more cheaper lenses. You'll notice if you zoom in, it will have to, if you're using auto settings, it'll have to like adjust, or if you're using manual settings, it will get darker when you zoom in and out. But this is a fixed aperture, and one of the bigger selling points on that for me, because I like using manual settings, so I know if I'm going to be using it and I zoom in, it's not going to mess up any of my settings. So that's a big pro for me. But let's jump into the pros and cons. The first one is that fixed aperture. That is just can't be overstated. That is so nice that I'm going to be out shooting a wedding and I zoom in and the settings aren't going to be messed up. It's good in low light. f1.8 is extremely good in low light, almost like owning a prime lens with that kind of aperture, except you can zoom in. It's like owning multiple primes, an 18, a 20, a 24, a 28, and a 35. The focal distance is very comfortable. I've used this to shoot weddings, and it's very nice to have that flexibility without having to move across the room to just zoom in a little bit. And whenever you're at the 18 millimeter distance, it's very nice and wide and able to capture everything in the shot. So having that flexibility, 18-35, is very comfortable for professional work that I use it for. I love the build quality on this lens. Everything just feels really high quality. The price is honestly not that bad. $650 I think is a great price for what you're getting, so I really like the price. It's also a really sharp lens. The images that you'll get out of this lens are really, really good, and it also has good autofocus. And finally, my big pro is that it's the EF mount, and like I said, using it on the M mount and then eventually having to inevitably upgrade to the R mount, this is a great bridge lens. Those are the pros. Now let's jump into the cons, and I only really have three. It's kind of a heavy lens. It's not very light compared to other lenses that I've had. There's a lot of glass in this lens, and it's also not super small. It's definitely not the biggest lens, but using it on the M mount camera, I have to use an adapter, which makes it a little bit longer. So it's definitely not a super portable lens. That being said, it is a bigger and heavier lens, so if you're looking for something very portable, maybe this is not the option for you. And my other con is that it makes noises whenever it's focusing. So if you're going to be using manual focus a lot of the time, this isn't going to be an issue. If you're doing photography, listening to the autofocus, it's not really a big deal. But if you're going to be shooting videos, just keep in mind, if you have a shotgun mounted on the top of your camera, you may pick up some of the noises of this focus. I really wish it didn't, but it's not a deal breaker for me, but keep that in mind. So that's the overview, the pros and cons. I think if you're going to be doing photography, this lens will work. I don't know if it's necessarily what I would recommend. I'd probably recommend some good prime lenses because they're going to be cheaper and more portable. But if you're going to be doing professional photography, I can understand why you might like the zoom. Instead of buying multiple prime lenses, you just buy this $650 lens and you're good to go. But where I think this really shines is videography. I've used this to shoot a couple weddings. And it's really nice to have a kind of professional, high quality lens that I can zoom in and out and get more flexibility. Also getting that really good low light and the just high quality build of this, and knowing that this is gonna be a lens that I'm gonna have for a really long time. Especially if you're in the boat like me where you're using M-mount cameras, you can use this. And then eventually when you want to upgrade to an R-mount camera, this lens will work perfectly fine with an adapter. That's kind of my thoughts on this lens. And yeah, 10 years later, I think this is still an excellent buy, and it just really speaks to the quality of the Sigma lens. And go ahead and look at other reviews. Everybody's saying the same thing. This lens is awesome, and I definitely recommend picking it up. There is a link in the description, and if you want to use that, it helps out my channel. But that is it for this review. If you guys have enjoyed, I'd appreciate it if you'd leave a like. And if you have any comments or questions at all, leave them in the comments section below. And if you want to see other budget gear reviews, consider subscribing. And if you do, I'll see you next time.